a lot has been made, Scott, about Rangers and Rangers missing this Scottish court. I know there's a lot of fans back here that would love to see him play for Rangers one day. I don't know how realistic that is, but
in terms of Lewis going to Rangers,
perhaps one day, you never know.
You're asking the wrong man here, Dan.
Well, look, from my point of view, Daniel, I mean, I was interested to ask Bill about it. I mean, obviously, I cover Rangers most weeks. I mean, when I watched Lewis play at Hamilton Accies as a kid, I thought he was made for Rangers even back then. Not just because he's family connection, just because the type of player he was, the type of leader he was, even at that young age. And well, I'm just staggered for a Rangers point of view that when he left Hamilton and then again when he left Aberdeen, that Rangers didn't or weren't in for him, properly in for him to make that deal happen. So I'm just interested to ask Bill. Obviously, people are still talking about the potential of Lewis Ferguson playing for Rangers one day, but Bill, why did it not happen at an earlier stage? Were Rangers ever seriously interested?
No, never. Not in my opinion. First of all, I couldn't understand why they got rid of him, because they said he was too heavy and he would never make the grade. That stung, as you could imagine, right? But when he moved to Aberdeen, I thought there was a possibility that Rangers would come in then. He had a couple of great seasons at Aberdeen, and I thought that Rangers would come in then. But the sort of rumours that was going about, well, if Rangers were to come in, Aberdeen would put up the price. Now, I can tell you that Bologna got him for $2.5 million. It's not a lot of money. Not a lot of money, is it, really?
A brilliant bit of business, Bill.
That is tremendous. Now, Scott, I'll tell you this. Lewis will play for Rangers before his career finishes. Absolutely, no doubt about that. He's maintained that from day one, that he will, sometime in his career, he will come and play for Rangers. No doubt, 100%.
What about before the summer's over, Bill?
Before August?
Before he goes to Germany, before he goes to the World Cup.
We've got some comments coming in, and if you're watching at home, hit us with your questions. Some really good questions that have come in already. Gavaldo says it was another missed opportunity for Rangers that will cost them millions. Marzuno, Bill says, would he have gone to Celtic at any point? I know he's got a big Rangers link, obviously.
I think he would have to consider it as a professional. He always wants to develop his career, and I think he could have developed his career at Celtic, given the opportunity. There was some talk that there was some interest. I have to tell you, this is quite funny, even at this stage. I was told on good authority that Tosh McKinlay had put him forward to Celtic on a couple of occasions, and they refused to take it any further. And the reason that they gave for not pursuing it was somebody, in their wisdom, says he's no very good at penalties. I find that funny, even today. I find that funny. There you are.
When would that have been, Bill? Was that in his Hamilton days or his Aberdeen days?
No. That was when he was at Aberdeen.
Right. Okay.
So it's a fact. It's an absolute fact.
And in terms of this summer, because Rangers are actively looking for a replacement for James Tavernier. I don't mean as a right back. I mean as a captain.
Right.
And many people will look at Lewis and think, and it's been discussed. There's a guy that could walk into that Rangers starting 11, make them better, but also take on a captaincy because he knows the demands and the expectations around that football club. Are you telling us, Bill, that ship has sailed in terms of roundabout now because the price, the money involved is just going to be too big?
I think the money could be too big, but I could be wrong. Because, and I'll tell you why I say that, Keith. Last year, they couldn't afford them because when we had Juventus and Napoli with offers on the table, they were talking about paying somewhere in the region of 20-25 million euros.
Oh.
And and then we have a situation whereby I've said to Bologna this year, because of this rotational system that they have, that they've dropped his value. I says, you have to understand that because of that, that his value must have decreased by down to about maybe 10, 15 million. Now, I don't know if they would agree with me on that, but the very fact he's not played as many games, I think could have an adverse effect on his transfer fee.
Well, I think that's an obvious one, Bill, and because not only that, but people will look. They know there was an injury issue. They're probably looking, going, well, is this the legacy of the injury? He's not back to being the same player. He is back to being the same player. He's just working under a coach that doesn't want to play him week in, week out, along with the rest of that squad. So I think they've taken that risk. They've knocked a big chunk off the price. The question that I've got for you is, would it be a manageable price for Rangers, or is he destined to go to a Napoli or an AC or an Inter or Juventus?
I did an article earlier on this week and said that he would go to any one of 5 countries, top countries. I never thought at the time about Rangers, to be honest, for a simple reason. I didn't think that Rangers would want to pay the money because I don't know what the money is, and I still don't know what Bologna are looking for. I'll have a meeting with them in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and it may well be that they want to keep him. We've got 2 years left on the contract, and I don't know what they want to do. But you'd have to tell me, if they were looking for 10, 15, 20 million, is that too much for Rangers?
You started at a point that might be achievable and went very quickly to a point that certainly won't be. But I mean, the Rangers have got a deal in place just now for Skov Olsen, right? I don't know if you're keeping in touch with how much you've been watching.
Sure.
But the deal's worth £9 million to make it a permanent transfer.
Right.
And they've obviously paid a loan fee to initiate it and make it happen for the last 6 months of this season. Now, there's a contract that I would tell you I have to assume would be getting ripped up and placed in the nearest waste paper basket. But it does say to you that if they've got those sort of funds, they've got the opportunity to finalise that deal at around about £9 million, which is closer to €10 million. It means that Rangers might get in at the very early stages of a bidding process. Whether or not they'd still be there at the end is another matter, I'm guessing.
Jacko, the other thing is you need to take into account is Nico Raskin's future at Rangers, because you're talking
they need a central midfield player if he leaves.
No, you're talking about a potential replacement for Tavernier as captain. But in terms of Rangers midfield, I mean, if Raskin goes to the World Cup and plays for Belgium and excels for Belgium at the World Cup, you'd be surprised if there's no clubs interested. And what I think he has 2 years left on his Rangers deal. I think that would be a player that Rangers would be looking to get, make a profit from. Let's just say Raskin's obviously had a few issues at Rangers that have been well publicised, and I think if he was to go and Rangers did make a big profit on him, for a Belgian international, you could be talking 10-15 million pound for Raskin.
Yes.
If Rangers get money in that range, then surely Lewis Ferguson would come into their thinking.
So, Bill, is this a conversation you want to have with Andrew Kavanagh?
Well, I don't know. We've said often that every move he makes, he wants it to develop his career.
Yeah.
And we've had offers. The injury set us back a bit, as you can imagine, right? You mentioned about the fact that he no longer has the injury. He's not suffering from the injury. It's not the fact that he can't play 2 games in a week because of the injury. We have to rule that out. That's just not the case. Yeah. He's very good value for money, even today. Now, I don't know. We've had discussions in the past about 2 things. He said to me that he wants to play in the English Premier League at some time, and he wants to play for Rangers at some time. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Now, if Rangers could make it happen and we could do a deal with Bologna, I would love that. But I don't know. I don't know if it could happen. I really don't, because of the money situation.
Interesting.
Before we let you go, Bill, another couple of comments, if that's okay.
Sure.
Luke says Lewis should be made instant captain at Rangers. John the Blue Nose says this must be a goer for Rangers. They need the right type of captain. Stephen Mason says he'll have his pick of clubs after the World Cup. And our friend Gianni says Lewis will be eyeing up another move in Italy. Don't think it'll be a top tier team like Juve, maybe a wee side like Napoli. he's not a Napoli fan. But I was just thinking that there. Same with Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmour and stuff. You can't help but feel proud when you see a Scottish player going out there.
I was saying to Bill before we came on, we're going to go to a World Cup and there's the prospect of us playing at an almost entirely Serie A midfield. But we'd need to drop John McGinn to make that happen.
True.
I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. And, Bill, even, I'm not going to say a ripe old age, very experienced, clever wheeler and dealer, has realised and identified the market is there. The Italian, for whatever reason, young Scottish talent has got a place. The Italians, it's almost like the clubs treat it like having a Gucci man bag. Oh, you get the best young player at Scotland. Yeah. And Lewis has gone there, and he was almost a bit of a trailblazer before McTominay and Billy Gilmour. And he was what was he, Bill? He was voted the best midfield player or the best number 8 in Serie A.
Season. I can tell you now.
And that's why you get the clubs that were queuing up after him, the 3-4 of the biggest clubs in Italy.
Yes. I can tell you now that if he hadn't been injured, he was Napoli's first choice and Juventus' first choice. I know that without a doubt. Giovanni Mani, who's the sports director in Napoli. Funny story there, I'll tell you very, very quickly. He used to be the sports director of Juventus, and I was over to see him.
Right.
Did I tell you the story before, Keith? Yeah?
No, but I know that he did go from Juve to Napoli, yep.
I was over to see him about 2 weeks before he left for Napoli, but I didn't know that. But he said to me, I want to sign Lewis. There's no doubt about that, Bill. We'll do a deal. Can you speak to the player? And we'll get it wrapped up. So I spoke to Lewis. I said, look, do you want to go to Juventus? In a very blasé way, as you can imagine. He said, I would love it if there's nothing else. So anyway, 2 weeks later, I get this phone call. And the guy says to me, I want to sign Lewis for my club. I says, what's your club? He says, my club's Napoli. I says, I know you. I says, you're Giovanni Mani. I says, 2 weeks ago, you were the sports director of Juventus. He says, well, I'm now the sports director of Napoli, and I want to sign Lewis. Now, I'm convinced in my own mind that if he hadn't got injured, McTominay and wee Billy would have been